Welcome back to the I Don't Want a Divorce podcast with Dr. David E. Clarke. That's me. Today's topic is the curse, and it is a curse, the curse of Christian codependency. Now, before I get to this topic, one thing. If you are in a marital crisis, or you know someone who is, that's what I do. You'll find a book for your crisis on my website, davideclarkephd.com. That's Clarke with an E. And also, you can talk to me in a 45-minute phone advice session set up by email or text. And you can just email me, David E. Clarke, that's Clarke with an E, David E. Clarke, PhD, at gmail.com. Or go to the website, davideclarkephd.com, and find my email address. But just email me. We can set it up that way. We can talk about your marital crisis. I'll get the background, and I'll give you a plan of action moving forward. It won't be the usual, typical Christian counselor response. I'm fast, I'm direct, I've got the experience, and hopefully with God helping me, I'll tell you exactly what to do. I had a client recently on the phone say, well, I know as a Christian counselor, you can't tell me what to do. I had to figure things out for myself. I said, no, that's not right. I will tell you exactly what to do. That's what I'm for. If you have a counselor say, well, I don't, what do you think? Don't waste your time. That's what I'm for. I will tell you what to do once I understand what's happening. And in a crisis, you need a plan. Now, today's topic, the curse of Christian codependency. Now, let me be clear right up front. In this podcast, I'm not talking about the broad category of codependency. There are other books for that and other approaches and podcasts. You can be codependent in a good marriage, frankly, with a decent, loving spouse. I'm not talking about that. You can be codependent in an unhappy marriage with a spouse who doesn't meet your needs. I'm not talking about that either. Those need to be addressed, but that's not my focus. I'm talking about being codependent in an abusive marriage with a dirtball spouse who is slowly destroying you. That's what I'm talking about. If you're in this situation, you are way beyond unhappy. You are miserable, discouraged, exhausted, but you stay with your abuser. Your physical health is being destroyed. Your body is breaking down under the unrelenting stress and pain and trauma of living with your abuser, but you stay with your abuser. Your emotional health is being destroyed. Your self-esteem and confidence are way down if they're even registering on the scale. Your depression and anxiety are way up, but you stay with your abuser. Your children are being destroyed. They see abuse as normal and are gradually taking on the characteristics of your abuser. They're losing love and respect for you, but you stay with your abuser. Your spiritual health is being destroyed. Your closeness to God is slipping away and you don't have the energy or motivation to serve Him effectively, but you stay with your abuser. You have tried everything to change your abuser, and it's been years, not months, years. Talking to your pastor, number of times, talking to marriage counselors, attending marriage seminars, reading multiple books on marriage, trying to meet your abuser's needs, praying a million times, crying, pleading, being submissive. Nothing has worked. Nothing is going to work. But you stay with your abuser. Why do you stay with your abuser? Why, when you and everyone and everything around you is slowly being destroyed, do you stay with your abuser? You stay because you suffer from a condition afflicting millions of Christian women, and frankly, men too. I call this condition Christian codependency. This condition, this curse, really keeps you with your abuser. Now, here's my definition of Christian codependency. I'm going to give you the definition and then kind of talk through the different elements. Following popular Christian advice, you give up your identity in a destructive, addictive, unbiblical, and never-ending quest to change the abuser you live with. Let me break down the elements of this definition. And by the way, I'm working on a brand new self-published book. Working title is The 20 Lies That Keep You with Your Abuser. That's going to be released probably in several months. We're looking at August. I've got to pull the whole thing together, but this is coming from that book. It's a little teaser of that book. It's kind of a good precept to the Enough is Enough book, because I'm finding that many women and many men, even though I'm explaining abuse and how to get out, can't pull the trigger because of the codependency. So this is going to be a great companion volume to the Enough is Enough book. Okay, popular Christian advice, the first element in my definition. The majority of Christian pastors, leaders, and experts want you to be a codependent. Absolutely they do. They want you to keep on trying to change your abuser. They think it's your job. They want you to stay with your abuser no matter what. They teach you to be submissive to your abuser. They teach you to keep on loving your abuser and meeting all his needs without complaint. Now that's a key, without complaint. Because if you do that, guess what? He'll change eventually. They're vague about how long eventually will be. The truth is, they don't care if it's 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, 45 years. Just stay married. Just stay codependent. Just be slowly destroyed. And by the way, leave us alone. You give up your identity, the next element. You give up your identity. You become an emotional pilot fish to your shark of an abuser. You give up who you are in your desperate attempt to survive the ongoing trauma and change him. Your voice, your feelings, your thoughts, your needs, and your dreams, all gone. God made you, listen to this, God made you with a unique personality, unique talents and gifts, a unique voice, and with his power, the ability to impact your family, your friends, your church, your community, and your world for him. When you tolerate abuse, you cancel out who you are. You don't exist. Destructive. You and everyone you love and everything you love is destroyed along the way if you stay with your abuser. Never seen it different, 35 years of working. Always the same, destruction across the board. The longer you stay, the more destruction you allow to happen. Now, the abuser's doing the destroying, but if you stay, you're allowing that to happen. I work with hundreds of spouses, women and men, who have been destroyed, ruined because they stayed with their abuser too long. Don't allow your own destruction. We touched on this in the last podcast. This lady that allowed herself to be destroyed over 20 years. Addictive. We've heard about addictions. You're addicted as the Christian codependent. Your quest to change your abuser takes over your entire life. It's all you know and it's all you do, and you can't stop doing it. You are chasing a fantasy. Maybe if I do everything just right, he'll change. And your Christian leaders will tell you that, many of them. If you just keep loving him and submitting and meeting his needs, he'll change. No, he won't. That works with a decent guy. You don't have a decent guy. You have a dirtball. And there's a big difference between decent and dirtball. Now, you didn't know that when you married him probably, but you know it now. You need to act on that truth. God's plan for your life is not to exhaust yourself in a hopeless attempt to change your abuser. It's like playing the lottery for 30 years hoping to hit the jackpot. It's not going to happen. Unbiblical, and this, of course, is a key. I don't want to recommend anything that isn't solidly biblical. Though many Christian helpers, and I put that in quotes, will try to convince you otherwise, the Bible does not support staying with an abuser. You can see this all throughout Enough is Enough. The Bible supports you getting out, not you staying. As I mentioned before, I'm working on a self-published book right now where I cover many of the verses Christian helpers use to keep you with your abuser. We're going to refute all these verses. They're misused. Scripture is twisted to keep you with your abuser. Stay tuned for that book. Probably releasing August 2022. That's what we're thinking now, the team. Never ending, the next element in the definition. The codependent quest is fruitless. Never going to work. Abusers rarely change, and never when you stay with them. I've never seen that in 35 years. If you stay with an abuser, he won't change. Now, when you leave, that will change your life and your children and grandchildren's lives, and so you're better off anyway, but it gives him the only chance he's going to have to change. And even that's slim. You kill yourself trying to change him, and he resists. That's the never-ending game. I'm going to talk about this never-ending game in my next podcast. To change the abuser you live with. Next element in my definition. This is not God's goal for your life. You've made it your goal, your only goal. God does not want you to waste your life trying to change someone who isn't going to change anyway. The only person you can change is you. Stop trying to change your abuser. Start getting healthy. Start preparing to leave. That's why I wrote this book. Enough is enough. Start your awakening. And in a very real sense is an awakening in your personal life. Working through your issues, getting past your obstacles to leave your abuser. It's going to take time. You don't do it in a couple of months. It may take a year. Start the process. Read my Enough is Enough book. Again, this book is available on my website, davideclarkephd.com, Clarke with an E, or really anywhere books are sold. Of course, it's a paperback, as you can see. It's an ebook, as well as now it's on Audible. If you're more of a person that processes, kind of auditorily, fine. It's on Audible as well. Help us help more abused spouses and more spouses in marital crisis by subscribing to this podcast and my YouTube channel. That'll help us. And leaving a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. This is a message you're not going to hear from many Christian counselors. It should be. It should be universal, I think. It's not. They're weak. They're passive. They want to do marriage counseling. No. This is a case where you need to get out. Stop, work on your Christian codependency and leave your abuse. Get strong, get healthy, and live a different life. Now, in next week's podcast, I'm going to explain how the abusive game is played, with you trying, and, of course, the abuser resisting. I want to explore what that's about. So until then, Dr. David E. Clarke of the I Don't Want a Divorce podcast, signing off.